We're going to tackle a very important topic, inflammatory bowel disease. Now, for your exams, your PG entrance, you absolutely must know the difference between its two main types, ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. They can seem very similar, but their pathology is completely different. In this session, we are going to make those differences crystal clear. So let's get right into it.
So what is our plan for today? First, we will solve the IBD puzzle, understand what it is. Then we'll look at some very important genetic syndromes linked to IBD. After that, we will go into the details of ulcerative colitis pathology, and then we will do the same for Crohn's disease. And finally, the most important part, we'll put them side by side for a direct comparison. This last section is where you will score maximum marks, okay?
Now, before we really dive in, let me ask you one thing. Continuous lesions versus skip lesions. Do you really know the difference? This is the one concept where students always get confused. And if you get this wrong, you will get the MCQ wrong. Simple as that. But don't worry, stick with me, and by the end of this session, this will be perfectly clear. This is the main key to understanding everything else. Okay, let's start with our first section, the IBD puzzle. Let's try to understand what is actually happening in this disease.
So what is the core problem in IBD? You see, it's not just one single thing. It's like a perfect storm. First, you need to have a genetic predisposition. You are born with it. Then, some kind of environmental trigger comes along, maybe an infection or something in your diet. And this trigger causes the immune system in your gut to just go crazy. It goes into overdrive. And instead of protecting you, it makes a mistake and starts attacking the lining of your own gut. That is the fundamental issue here. Right, let's move on to the genetics part. We know it plays a very important role, and there are some specific syndromes that are extremely high yield for your exams. You must know these.
Now look at this table very carefully. This is pure gold for your MCQs. I want you to notice the pattern here, see? Wiskott-Aldrich syndrome is associated with ulcerative colitis, which is a non-granulomatous disease. But look at Hermansky-Pudlak and von Gierke's. Both are associated with Crohn's disease, which is a granulomatous disease. Are you seeing the connection? This is not some coincidence, Baba. This is a favorite question for examiners. You have to burn this table into your memory.
Another very important genetic link you must know is IPEX syndrome. The entire problem here comes down to one single gene, FOXP3. Now, what does this gene do? Well, it's responsible for our T regulatory cells. And you can think of these Treg cells as the brakes of our immune system, okay? They stop it from overreacting. So in IPEX, there's a mutation, and these brakes fail. And what happens when the brakes on a car fail? The immune system loses control, it loses self-tolerance, and it just starts attacking the body's own organs.
And this leads to a classic clinical triad that examiners absolutely love. For IPEX, you must remember these three things. 1, skin problems, like dermatitis. 2, endocrine issues, like type 1 diabetes or thyroiditis. And 3, a severe gut problem that looks almost exactly like ulcerative colitis. We call it a UC-like enteropathy. If you see this triad in a question, your mind must immediately think of IPEX.
Okay, good. Now let's focus on the first of our two big players, ulcerative colitis. We are going to examine its specific pathological features in detail now.
Let's start with the definition. If you can just get these three key words, you have basically understood UC. First, it is superficial. This means the inflammation only affects the top layers of the bowel wall, the mucosa and the submucosa. Second, it is continuous. There are no healthy patches in between. It is one long uninterrupted area of inflammation. And third, it almost always starts in the rectum and moves upwards or proximally. So remember these three words, superficial, continuous, rectum. That is ulcerative colitis.
So on gross examination, what do you see when you look at the colon? You will see that continuous inflammation. The surface of the mucosa looks very angry, red and granular. You will also see something called pseudopolyps. Now, please remember, these are not true cancerous polyps. They are just islands of swollen mucosa that are left behind because everything around them has been ulcerated away. And over a long time, all this inflammation makes the colon lose its normal folds, the hastrations, so it becomes smooth and rigid. This gives the classic lead pipe appearance on an X-ray. Now, what about under the microscope? Well, the story holds up. The inflammation is superficial, staying only within the mucosa and submucosa. The key finding here, the hallmark, is crypt abscesses. The crypts, these are the little glands in the lining of the colon. They get packed full of neutrophils, forming tiny abscesses. This is the classic microscopic sign of ulcerative colitis.
Okay, let's switch gears now. We'll move on to the other side of IBD, Crohn's disease. Now, as we go through this, I want you to constantly compare in your mind, what makes this different from the ulcerative colitis we just talked about?
And right away, from the definition itself, you can see the difference. Crohn's is, well, it's almost the complete opposite of UC in many ways. It is deep, or what we call transmural. This means the inflammation goes through all the layers of the bowel wall. It is not continuous. It has the famous skip lesions, where you have diseased areas separated by patches of normal, healthy bowel. And it can appear anywhere, literally from the mouth to the anus.
Macroscopically, this deep inflammation creates a very unique picture. You'll see those skip lesions, of course. The ulcers are long and deep, almost like knife-like cuts, giving the surface a classic cobblestone look. And because the inflammation is transmural, because it goes right through the whole wall, it causes very severe complications. It can create deep cracks called fissures, it can form tunnels to other organs called fistulas, and the scarring can lead to narrowings or strictures.
And under the microscope, it gets even clearer. Two things will just scream Crohn's at you. One, you will see inflammation in all the layers. It's transmural. And two, the absolute game changer, the hallmark feature, non-caseating granulomas. These are organized collections of immune cells. If you see granulomas on a gut biopsy, your number one diagnosis has to be Crohn's disease.
Right. So we have looked at both diseases individually. Now for the most important part of this entire session, the final verdict. This is the summary you need to have completely memorized for your exams.
Okay, let's put it all together. Site. UC is colon only. Crohn's is mouth to anus. Distribution. UC is continuous. Crohn's skips. Depth. This is the most important difference, remember this. UC is superficial. Crohn's is deep, it's transmural. And this one fact explains the complications. Because Crohn's goes deep, it creates fistulas and strictures. Because UC is superficial but widespread, it can lead to massive dilation or toxic megacolon. Microscopy. Think cryptobscesses for UC and non-caseating granulomas for Crohn's. This table is your cheat sheet for IBD. This is your entire revision in one place.
So if you are in the exam hall and your mind goes completely blank, just remember this one simple sentence. UC is superficial and continuous. Crohn's is deep and it skips. If you just remember this much, you will be able to figure out almost all the other features.
So there you have it, the core differences between ulcerative colitis and Crohn's. But I want to leave you with one final thought. Today we focused on pathology, but the future of IBD care, it lies in genetics and understanding the microbiome. As we learn more about these, how will our treatments change? Will we have personalized therapies? It's something for you to think about as you continue your studies. Thank you.